Are your plants constantly dying under your large shade trees, leaving you with nothing but bare dirt? You are in the right place. Today, we are revealing the secret to gardening under trees without struggling with roots. Prepare to completely change how you plant. 1. Stop adding topsoil. We have all looked at a barren, root-filled patch of dirt under a tree and thought about dumping a fresh load of topsoil over it. You might be shocked to learn that this is the absolute fastest way to kill your tree. Most people assume tree roots plunge deep into the earth like a giant carrot. The startling reality is that roughly 80% of a tree's total root mass sits completely flat in the top 18 to 24 inches of the soil. Roots actually need atmospheric oxygen to breathe, so they must hug the surface. When you dump rich topsoil or build heavy raised beds over these roots, you instantly trap carbon dioxide and cut off their oxygen supply. Deprived of air, the tree's roots enter a panicked, inefficient breathing state that rapidly exhausts the tree's energy, causing it to suffocate and die. You also cannot pile mulch directly against the tree trunk, which is an industry-wide disaster known as volcano mulching. This traps dark, humid moisture against the bark, causing fatal fungal rot and inviting wood-boring insects. To preserve these delicate root systems, completely avoid constructing raised beds with timber or heavy stones over the existing ground. If augmenting the earth is necessary, spreading merely 2 inches of premium topsoil remains the safe maximum boundary to prevent suffocation below. It is equally critical to brush all loose dirt entirely away from the immediate base of the trunk. Cultivating a bare buffer zone around the bark ensures the essential root flare stays dry and is fundamentally protected against rot. Furthermore, applying shredded bark mulch brilliantly seals in essential moisture, provided you carefully maintain a strict depth of 2 to 3 inches. Finally, absolutely banish harsh rototillers or industrial machinery from your garden underneath the canopy, as violent churning viciously shreds surface roots, inviting devastating pathogens that will quickly destroy your beautiful shade tree. 2. The pocket planting method with tiny plugs. When gardeners try to plant under mature trees, they usually grab a large, long-handled shovel and try to bury massive 1-gallon potted plants. This is a massive mistake. Using huge shovels applies massive leverage that easily slices right through concealed tree roots. Instead, you must use a surgical, highly precise technique called pocket planting. The secret is to use landscape plugs. These are incredibly young plants grown in very narrow, deep plastic cells. Because their roots are so uniquely slender, they slide perfectly into the tiny natural crevices between massive structural tree roots without requiring major digging. Younger plants also adapt much faster and fight through the shock of dry, competitive soil far better than older, container-bound plants. When you are gardening under thick leaves and branches, do not use those long-handled shovels. Instead, use a tool like a hori-hori knife or a slim trowel to feel for things you cannot see in the dirt. You should gently poke around in the dirt to protect things that are under the ground. If you find a root that's bigger than 2 inches, you should stop what you are doing, fill the hole back up, and pick a different spot nearby. If you cut these roots, the plant might get hurt during a big storm. Before you put the plant in the ground, you should water the dirt so it does not get too dry. Make sure the new plant is at the same level as the ground around it, so it does not rot from being buried too deeply or get too dry from being too high. When you press down on the dirt gently, it gets rid of any air pockets. Help the plant touch the soil, which is good for gardening, and the plant will grow well. 3. Train roots to dive deep. The area under your tree is a brutal biological desert called dry shade. The tree's massive canopy acts exactly like a giant biological umbrella, intercepting rain and bouncing it directly out towards the edges of the branches, which is known as the drip line. Any moisture that actually hits the trunk is instantly sucked up by the tree's hyperdense feeder roots. If you try to fix this extreme drought by running a standard oscillating lawn sprinkler, you are making a fatal error. Plant roots exhibit positive hydrotropism, meaning they actively hunt for water. Frequent, shallow sprinkler watering artificially trains your new plants to keep their roots right at the surface. Up there, they are forced into point-blank, lethal competition with the thirsty tree. To fix the problem, get rid of the sprinklers that spray water over the leaves. The water just gets wasted. Instead, use a drip irrigation system that uses water or micro bubblers that put water right into the soil. This way, the soil gets the water it needs. It is very important to put the emitters in the right spot. They should be 6 to 12 inches away from the tree trunks. If they are too close to the tree, the bark will start to rot. Water the trees deeply, not very often. At first, the water should go down 5 inches into the soil. After a while, it should go down about 18 inches. This will help the young roots of the trees grow down into the soil. The trees will not have to compete with plants for water. For the 3 years, the trees will need about twice as much water as they normally would. This is because the roots are still growing and need a lot of water to get established. Is this completely changing how you look at your yard? If you're picking up tips you've never heard before, take a quick second to hit that subscribe button. 4. The container hack for toxic and hostile trees. Sometimes the ground under a tree is literally toxic. Trees like the black walnut actively poison the soil by sweating out a potent respiratory inhibitor called juglone. This natural chemical rapidly kills nightshades like tomatoes, peppers, and popular shrubs like azaleas. The invasive tree of heaven produces chemical herbicides in its roots, and even eucalyptus trees stunt the growth of crops planted within 16 feet of them. Other trees like the notorious Norway maple do not use poison. Instead, they use physical warfare, deploying interlocking leaves that block out all sunlight while their massive surface roots suck up every drop of water. When the ground is completely impenetrable, you must pivot to above-ground container ecosystems. However, setting a heavy pot directly on the dirt can crush tree roots and trap stagnant water. To get started, you need to buy some pots or old whiskey barrels and put good soil in them. This will keep the flowers separate from the stuff in the ground. Do not put the pots on the ground. Use a few bricks or special stones to lift the pot. This will help the water drain out and let air get to the roots. The plants will be happy and healthy if they have air around their roots and the water does not stay there long. 5. Plant survivors and keep the leaves. You cannot plant sun-loving, water-hungry flowers under a mature tree and expect them to live. You must pick genetically adapted species like temporal avoiders or rhizomatous spreaders. Spring ephemerals like bloodroot and Virginia bluebells have a genius evolutionary strategy. They emerge, bloom, and set seed very quickly in early spring, and then go completely dormant, literally sleeping through the brutal summer drought and root competition. When autumn arrives, most people shred their fallen leaves to make the yard look perfectly sanitized. Ecologically, this is highly destructive. Whole, undisturbed leaves act as a thermal blanket and vital overwintering habitat for beautiful pollinator moths and solitary bees. To make your yard look nice, pick strong plants like red barrenwort and wild ginger. These plants are good at keeping weeds away when it is dry and shady. You should also get Lenten rose and Christmas fern because they are pretty and can survive cold winters. If you have a problem with Norway maple, try using heartleaf aster and Canadian anemone. When leaves fall, do not throw them away. Just let them stay on the ground because they are good for the soil. They have lots of things that help your plants grow. Only remove the leaves if there are many of them, because too many leaves can hurt your other plants. Which of these hidden shade hacks will you test under your trees first? Leave a comment below, hit that like button, and do not forget to subscribe.